And just like that, we are back with another sweet episode of Comics and Sweet Tea. Can't thank you guys enough. The following count's been steady growing. Appreciate all you guys that have stayed with me all this time, and the newcomers that have just jumped on board. I hope you like the content. What I'm trying to put out for the channel. Just really trying to give back to the indie comic community, and help put everybody's work on Front Street, so to speak. And get give them a platform where they can just come and have a conversation and talk about their book out and shoot the shit, and just learn a little bit about them. And I hope you guys are enjoying that. And so be sure, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Uh, Take that 1 second to reach down there, give me a like. Hey, leave a comment. Let me know how you liking the show, how you liking the format of the show. Maybe you want to be find a way to get in contact with a guest, which I usually leave all that information in the description. But just anything. Drop down in the comments and let me know. What's going on with you. Uh, so anyway, we've got a great show planned for you today. Tremendous guy. This is actually, I believe, his second project, but he's going to tell us all about it. We've got Jay Red will be coming in and letting us know all about his next Kickstarter that will be launching just this month, guys. This is an awesome book, but I'm not going to take any of his fire. I'm going to let him tell you all about it. So without any further ado, let's bring in Jay Red to tell you all about his next title, Incision. Jay, pleasure to have you on for the first time, man. We've been running around in the same circles for a little bit, but never met on the same street. We just been kind of going down. You'll be on one block, I'll be on the other block. But it's a pleasure to finally have you on the show, man.
That's right. I appreciate you having me on, Gary. This is going to be fun.
Oh yeah, we're always, man. God knows what we'll be talking about before it's over with. There's a possibility I'll know what kind of breakfast cereal you like before the time this thing's over with. But anyway, let's not waste any time. I know your time is precious. I don't want to take any more away from you than I just have to, man.
I know you're all
Let's
good.
jump right into Incision. Kind of lay it out for us. Let us know what you're going to be bringing to us in this next Kickstarter, bro.
Yeah, so I've got a book coming out called Incision. It's the first issue of a 5-issue series. It's published by Lesser Known Comics, and we're launching on January 30th. And the book is kind of a sort of an homage, love letter to kind of the early 90s, mid 90s superhero comics, mainly like, Marvel, Image, those kinds of books. That's the kind of stuff I grew up on that I really like. And these last few years, I've gotten into like collecting, collections of old storylines, like, omnibuses, collections of like, the big stories from like the 90s and stuff like that, just kind of revisiting that stuff. And I really just was like, man, I just enjoy this stuff so much more than a lot of, current mainstream comics, which I still
Yep.
like a lot of that stuff. It just doesn't hit the same way, that old stuff
Right.
did. And so I was like, well, they're probably never going to let me take a crack at any of this kind of stuff. So I'm just going to do it myself and make,
There you go.
kind of my version of like a mainstream superhero book, kind of in that vein.
Gotcha.
So that's where Incision was born. It's if you look at it, you're going to see some pretty obvious influences as far as you know Marvel stuff. A lot of Wolverine in there, a lot of X-Men, Mutant,
Right.
and then just general superhero sci-fi. A lot of sci-fi elements in there too. So there is some genre blending. But yeah, it's the kind of stuff that gets me excited. So I just kind of threw it all into one title and came up with Incision. Got the first issue totally 100% completed. And so we're launching that, like I said, January 30th on Kickstarter. And as soon as that campaign ends, hopefully we fund, those books are going to be printed right away and shipped out. So it won't be a huge wait for everyone. But yeah, super excited about it.
Well, dude, I know just from your description, I'm already in the bag for this. So I'll be one of those backers. And there's no doubt in my mind you'll fund and fund quick. Because there's such a love for that time period in comics. I talk to so many people, and I mean, like you said, there were so many great stories during that time period, and it had a cohesiveness. You could follow along, and it was actually go somewhere. Whereas
Yeah.
today, you know, every 4 to 5 months, we got a total reboot. I mean, how can anybody get invested in that?
It's so hard to get invested now. I'll go to a shop now and be like, well, this cover looks cool, but what am I jumping into, and how long is it going to be around for, and before it gets rebooted again? And
Right.
so yeah, there's a lot of frustration with the modern stuff going on, which they'll hopefully get all that figured out. But in the meantime, people ought to jump into the indie world because we're rocking and rolling.
Oh God, yeah. And there's 90. I've always collected, but probably 99% of the books I buy now are indie books because I know the people that are making them are passionate about them. I know the story is going to go somewhere because these people are invested. This is projects they've set on for years, and the technology has finally gotten to a point where we're able to tell our stories. It's finally caught up with us. We don't have to go to a con, and we don't have to show our portfolios, and we don't have to get picked up by the big or image or something like that. Now we can go on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, crowdfunder, whatever one you prefer, and get our book out there.
Yeah, Kickstarter, that's the one that I use, and it's a game changer. I mean, I wish it was around 15, 20 years ago, because
definitely.
I mean, it's just kind of even the playing field, and just really allows us to distribute our work so much wider than we normally could have.
Right, and it puts it out there, where other people, we've talked about this, several of us have talked about this, these pre-launch pages, and a lot of people don't understand that. You don't have to get any money to jump on somebody's pre-launch page. Those numbers help us considerably, just by signing up. I mean, Kickstarter's got an algorithm just like anything else, and the more numbers you have in there, they know, that okay, there's a lot of interest in this. We need to put this up where people can see it, because if we're making money, they're making money because they get a cut of it. They're not in this thing for shits and giggles. They're, hey, this makes the world go around.
It's not a charity. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, that pre-launch page is so important. And with me having my book finished, ahead of time, I've been able to have that pre-launch page up for. I mean, I really pushed mine. I've had it up, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months. Some people, maybe do a month or so. I like to just leave it out there a while because that's just more chance for the number to get higher.
Exactly. Because there are people that just get on there and just look at new titles. I told somebody a while back, that you got that one little image and that quick little hook of dialogue to sell them on it. you know.
Yeah, it's quick.
But I
I mean,
mean, there's so
you
many
really
eyes
gotta
that come across that.
that subtitle, whatever they
Means the
give you,
world
like
to your
two
book.
sentences. That is the difference between making it and not making it sometimes, because people are just going
Yep,
to spend a few seconds on that page, and if you don't grab them, they're on to something else. So yeah, it's so important to really get that image right, get that subtitle right, because that's
right.
you're selling yourself passively while you're off doing other things. Your page is there selling for you. So yeah, it's just
Exactly.
so important.
So tell me something, Jay. Why comics, man? What got you into comics? Let's go down
I
that
mean,
road.
I grew up reading them, and I always drew as a kid, so I always wanted to. That's kind of the only thing I wanted to do professionally was draw comics, and so when I got in my early 20s, I do graphic design for a living, but me and my friends are kind of the same way. We would do little short comics, 5, 6 pages,
Right.
for ourselves, or maybe post it on a blog back when blogs were a thing, and maybe 2 or 3 people saw it. So yeah, I didn't really get serious until about 2017. Um, I decided with my friend Zach to make a substantial story, something graphic novel length. So we
Right.
made this book called Abducted, and originally we made it as a web comic, but I made it in comic book, standard page size, because I like print comics, and I was like, well, if this goes
Gotcha.
anywhere, I'm going to want to print this in the future.
Right.
And it's funny having a web comic up for free. We could not get anybody to go to that website and read it for anything. I mean, it was just the hardest thing to promote. It's so weird, But when it was all done, I was like, well, we need to print these. So we printed them up as issues, in kind of a cool box set. I had a custom box made. It held the 5 issue series, and they just sold, man. Friends and family, and then some people on social media would see it and go to our shop and buy them. This is before we got into Kickstarter.
Wow.
So that was kind of a confidence boost.
Right.
And
Right. You knew
so
you were on to something.
yeah, this was 2020. It was during the pandemic, so I had because I got laid off during the pandemic, so I got to finish the last 2 issues during that time, which normally would have taken me a lot longer, when you're working a full-time job. But that gave me the time to really push through and finish it pretty quickly. So, about 3 years to make 5 issues, which sounds like a long time, but if you're working, it's you know, how it
Right.
goes when you're trying to
Oh
get
God.
these
I
things
know
made.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So 2020, we had it all finished, and ordered a print run of all 5 issues, and then started selling them, just here and there. And then later on, I made a comic called The Body with my pal Billy, and that's how we did that on Kickstarter, and that's how I met Mark of Lesser Known Comics, because he was doing a campaign at the same time. Kind of met over Instagram. I kind of hit him up for some advice. He was really nice to give me some advice. I think we backed each other's campaigns, and then I didn't think more of it until a few months later. He kind of hit me up. Was like, "Hey, if you ever want to do something with Lesser Known Comics, let me know." And I was like, "Well, and I've got this series Abducted. I'd like to do it as a graphic novel on Kickstarter, because Kickstarter allows you to reach an audience way bigger than your friends and family and whoever
Right.
happens to like your images on social media." So teamed up with Lesser Known Comics, we did the Abducted Kickstarter. This was almost a year ago today. It did really well. I think we raised over like $3,300. So fulfilled that campaign, and then I kind of already started on Incision. I told Mark about it. He loved the idea, and so yeah, it's just kind of led to where I'm at now. About to get the Incision out, so it's a pretty fun ride.
I got you. Well, I tell you what, for the kids that are adults that are just like us, or the younger guy, I'll put it this way. I won't say kids. Everybody's a kid nowadays. I've gotten to that age where I call grown men kid. But
To me,
so the younger guys, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would give to them going into, say, starting your own book and doing a Kickstarter? What would be one of the biggest learnings you've had that you would like to pass on?
Probably, just to get across that, nowadays you have every tool at your disposal, and they've never been more affordable or accessible. So it's really just, you got to have that determination and
Right.
commitment to get through the not fun parts, because so much of this stuff is work, and not the fun,
Definitely.
glamorous parts. And if you can push yourself to get through that, then the rest is just walk in the park. So build up that resilience, you know build up that sense of determination, and just hunker down, make yourself do the work, because once you start, it gets easier and easier as you go. So it's worth
Right.
it, and it's I wouldn't trade it. This has been a great past couple of years for me. So just creatively.
Oh, same here. And I've had the privilege through this and through Instagram and to meet all these awesome creators like yourself and just guys that I've made friends with. I know that I'll be lifelong friends with. I felt like some of these cats, I felt like I've known my whole life, that we grew up together because we had the same, like you said, determination, the same dream, and you know, it just it's kind of like going into battle together almost. I mean, it's
Yeah,
totally different, but I mean, it's in the same where you have the same goals, the same interests. You're
and
facing
the
the
same
same
problem.
challenge. Yeah, same problems, same challenges. And you go through that together and it brings you closer, and it's nice to have people like Mark that you can reach out to. I mean, it's just you talk about game changers.
Oh yeah,
Mark
yeah,
is a game changer for the
yeah. I didn't
indie
know. I didn't
community.
know when I met him. I just thought he was another guy putting out a campaign. I didn't know he was building this comics empire. So yeah, I
Right.
was really I feel real lucky to be a part of that group and everything that we're all doing. So yeah, it's just it's great. And with Instagram and stuff like this, you can talk to other creators and trade advice, or like, hey, I'm running into this. Has anybody figured this out? And
Right.
people can chime in and be like, oh yeah, do this, this, and this. This worked for me. So just everything online, it just makes everything so much easier, and just sharing knowledge, it just levels everybody up, and we can all get where we're going a lot quicker.
Oh God, yeah. And not only that, a lot of us creators live in our own head a lot of the time. So it's nice to be able to reach out and talk to a real person about
Yeah,
the issues that you're going through, because I mean your wife, she's there for you, but she don't know anything about this. It's nice to have somebody that you can just text real quick and say, hey man, I'm running into this with Photoshop or Clip Studio. I'm having this little issue. Have you run into this before? And like, oh yeah, yeah, try this, and boom, you know,
yeah, yeah. I know what
you're
you
back in
mean.
business.
My wife's my first art editor. She'll see a page before anybody else, and
Right,
she doesn't know comics a whole lot, but she knows enough to. She'll be like, well, this doesn't make sense, and this face looks
right,
weird. You need
right.
to, and then I'm like, I don't like to hear it, but I do like to hear it, because then it's like, well, I need to change some stuff then. So
I know
yeah, that's the
exactly
first.
what you mean.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, my wife would come in and take a look at a page. What are you doing? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm scrapping this one. We're going back to we're going I'm clean I'm wiping this whole page. Well no, you don't have to do that. This right here works, but what is that? You
yeah,
know?
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it's something you really like, but
Hmm.
if it doesn't read to somebody else, it doesn't read to somebody else. So you gotta learn to get out of
Exactly.
your own. You got to get out of your own head, see it from somebody else's perspective, and then it sucks. But yeah, you gotta make the adjustments.
Right, right. So say when you're doing just like let's take incision for example. You've had this thing done for a while. Have you caught yourself sneaking back in and going through it and making adjustments, or did you pretty much nail it right out of the gate? You knew exactly what you wanted to do and nailed it.
Well, it's not so much nailing it as economics. So, I've got a colorist that colors my stuff, and so once
Gotcha.
she sends pages back, I don't touch them because I don't want to jump in there and have to recolor something or
Right.
pay for
Right.
more coloring because I've got a budget, just like everybody else. So I will change things up until when I send it to my colorist, and then uh, after that, though, it's done. Yeah, she does a great job. Her name's Maya Opachik, and she colors Tights, another lesser known comic, and a lot of other books.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so she worked with me on Abducted. I think it was maybe one of her first projects, and then she's been willing to keep dealing with me on Incision. And so, yeah, she's super talented. So when I get stuff back from her, I'm like, well, that's set in
Yeah.
stone. Yeah.
Have y'all? What have some of the challenges you run into working with, if any, working with a colorist? Have y'all kind of worked out a shorthand yet?
I
Where
think,
you
yeah, by this point, Incision was super smooth process. I mean, it's she's open to doing revisions, and I had very little on Incision. I was kind of like, this is what I'm looking for. I sent her some example
right?
images. This is the kind of look I want, and some kind of basic notes like I sent concept art that had like uh, you know characters and costume and all the colors, that kind of stuff. But as far
Right.
as the world, I'd like, this takes place in a warehouse. Maybe give it a kind of a green neon light kind of a look, and then she'll just
Yeah.
take it, you know, knock it out of the park. Um, with Abducted, there's probably a lot more revisions just because that was the first major project I'd ever done. I think it was one of the first she'd done, so there was a little more back and forth, but not a whole lot. She's just so good. So um, I've been really lucky in that regard. Yeah, most of the challenges just come with me dealing with, okay, how am I going to promote this? What do I need to do to get this out there? How do I advertise it? Because, there's a lot of custom work that goes into that kind of stuff. You've got social media graphics, you've got, planning, things like that. You got a budget.
Right.
So, yeah, like, I've commissioned two variant covers for Incision. So one is by Billy Diamond Dixon, who's helped to script the issue,
Oh,
and he
wow.
also is he's an artist as well. He's got some graphic novel coming out this year called The Mugen Man through Lesser Known Comics, and so he did a variant cover for me, and it's really cool. And then I've kind of befriended Eli Stone, who drew and wrote the Tick comic after
Oh, wow.
after Ben Edlund, the creator, went off to make the cartoon. Eli, picked up the Tick book, and so I met him over Instagram a while back, and chatted with him a bit, and so hit him up for a variant cover, and he loves doing variant covers, so he was kind enough to do one, and so I don't know how we got onto that, but yeah, got two variant covers with it, and not really a challenge, but just kind of a fun part, of the
Right.
campaign.
Right.
So
I
yeah,
love
haven't had
doing
a
the
whole lot of
variants.
challenges.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah. Talking about the variant covers and getting guys in to do variants, the first thing they asked me is like, okay, well, what do you want me to do with it? And I'm like, are you familiar with the characters? And they're like, yeah, yeah, I've been following along. And I'm like, go crazy with it. I,
Yeah,
because I mean, it's so awesome to just give them, just let go of the reins and see what they come up with, you know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just incredible some of the covers that I've got now, folks, by just telling them, hey, go crazy with it, you know.
Yeah, that's part of the appeal of the variant. It can be,
Right.
it can be anything,
Exactly.
whatever they want to put on there. It's just that adds to the value of a variant cover. I feel like.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And you said 5 issues for the story arc of Incision. Is that right? 5 issues is
Yeah,
what you're planning?
that's what I'm planning. It may change. If it changes, it may go a little long. But I want to keep it at five issues.
I
That's
got
what I'm shooting for. Yeah.
just a nice tight story. I got you, man. And I totally dig the whole '90s kind of Wolverine X-Men thing. I'm telling you, I think this thing's gonna sell like hotcakes, dude.
I
I hope
appreciate
you're
it, man. I
ready.
hope so.
'Cause I think you're gonna blow it up, man.
Man, I'm ready. I hope so. I'm looking forward to it. A little nervous, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh God, I'll be. I know exactly what you mean. I'll be doing my 5th Kickstarter next month,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
it never gets any easier. Yeah, the process does, but the nervousness. I'm just as
Hmm.
nervous launch day as I am when I launched that very first one. I'm
Have you
like,
have you found like people follow you from one campaign to the
oh
next?
God,
Has it
yeah,
kind of grown over
yeah.
time?
Definitely, definitely. I've had a solid core group that's been with me from the get go. That's really held on, and it's just gradually grew.
That's
And
awesome. Yeah.
when I did that con here last weekend in New Orleans, I had kids coming up to me and asking me some questions. I'm like, look, guys, I am by no means any kind of thing, anybody that you need to be asking anything. I said, but my biggest piece of advice to you, get the work out there. Your following will come, but they got to have something to look at. Get the story out there. Get your work out there and let them see what you're doing. You know,
Hmm.
that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing, and just taking that jump. You know,
Hmm. You can have all the ideas in your head that you want, but doesn't mean anything till you
exactly,
make something with it.
exactly, and that's it's crazy. You come up with all this stuff, and you live in your own head, and you put all this work in, and you spend hours in front of the tablet or the computer monitor, whether you do digital or traditional work, and you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, just hoping somebody's going to pick it up. There's no guarantees on any of this, but
Hmm.
that's why I love indie comics, because I know if they I know what it takes to make one now, so I know that there's something there, that there's some meat on the bone that I
Hmm.
won't be finding with the big two.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because
Yeah, I mean,
they took their precious time that they have to put the work in and get it out
and
there.
the passion is it's
Exactly.
you can see it on the page. I mean, you really
Oh
can.
God, yeah, you can. Um, okay, so I know you're just like me. I mean, all of us creators are the same. Do you have that one special project you're kind of holding on the back burner, and you just it's like a recipe. You've got some of the ingredients in there, but you hadn't quite perfected it just yet, and you're just working up to it and taking your time. Have you got that one sitting on the back burner that you're waiting to unleash on the world, or no?
I, so kind of yes and no. So I'd say what I'm working on now would be that, but I was planning on doing a black and white graphic novel
Oh
before
wow!
Incision, and actually did a few pages, and I kind of built out this whole world. It was sort of a sci-fi fantasy. It took place on another planet, another whole other
Right.
world. Kind of a Dune, Star Wars, Gladiator inspired story. If you mix all that together,
My ears perked
um,
up on all three of those.
yeah,
And I think I got a chub. just a little. It's nothing personal. It's just you named three of my favorite things right there, and yeah,
Good thing we're sitting down.
yeah,
Well, so yeah, so I had it all planned out. I'd kind of, I'd use some writing software to kind of build out the world and the characters and the story. And I started making pages, but then something just wasn't clicking, and it just, I don't know, it just wasn't coming together. I
right,
got real dissatisfied with it, so I set it aside, and that's kind of when the idea for Incision came about. And I was like, oh, well, this sounds so much more fun. I'm going to do this.
gotcha.
And so I started making Incision. So, one day, maybe when Incision's over, maybe I'll come back to it. Probably have to repackage it a little, reformat it,
Right,
kind of find
little
out what wasn't
routine.
working. Yeah, I'll
Yeah,
find out what wasn't working and turn it into something that does work for me. Maybe tell it from a different perspective, or I
right.
don't know what. So I do have all that saved. Yeah, that kind of got abandoned. So that's something I might come back to in the future.
Well, dude, it sounds incredible, and I'm sure you'll work it out. I'm sure it's
I
some
hope
little
so.
something, and I find it's good to do that sometimes. Don't force it. Just set it down for a little bit. Go work on something else and come back to a fresh set of eyes.
Well, speaking of that, so Abducted, we started that really 2017, finished it 2020, but actually, Zach and I, we had started that in 2009
Oh,
and got
wow.
like, yeah, kind of a different story, mostly the same, different art style. I did
Right,
about 14 pages, and then life kind of got in the way, and it just, it never materialized. And then, 2017 or 2018 comes around, and it's like, well, what about Abducted? That was really promising. So we,
right.
kind of restructured it, updated it. That's back in the days. I had a character holding a brick phone, the Nokia. This was before
Oh,
smartphones
gosh.
and all that,
Oh,
Uh,
reliable, boy. I used to
yeah.
call mine.
So yeah, yeah. If you track down the graphic novel of Abducted in the back, we actually printed those pages from that 2009 version. They're not lettered or anything, but just the artwork, So that was kind of a fun thing to do. But yeah, as far as setting something down, that's probably a little too extreme. But I we finished it eventually. It took about a decade.
Hey, you stuck with it, though. I mean, you made it happen. That's crazy. But, I know exactly where you're coming from because the end of days it lived in here since I was in high school. So
Oh
I know
wow.
all about sitting on a story, man. And it was
So
about to drive me nuts.
were you actively like building it out and writing it, or what was your process there?
Yeah, I had a notebook and I was taking little notes and writing little character arcs out and doing little sketches here and there. And then this would happen. And I'd just drop off of it. And then, all through the years, I was constantly kept coming back to these characters. And my daughter, she finally just said, Dad, why don't you do this? You've been so passionate about it. What is holding you back? And I was like, well, I'm scared of the dialogue, the in between dialogue. I said, I got the plot down. I said, I could quote that to you. I mean, I could never about do it in three different languages at this point. you know. She said, well, I'll help you with the dialogue. We'll work this out. And just, you're not dead. Just get it out there. I said, you're exactly right. I can't
I'm the
argue with that.
same way. I'm the same way. It's the dialogue. It's makes me self conscious. It's uncomfortable. I'm not real
Right.
strong in that. So that's why I teamed up with my friend Billy on Incision. So he can just do that like it's nothing.
That's what
So
my daughter is, man. She just
yeah.
bam, bam, bam. It just
So
clicked.
he and I we plotted it out, and then he took the first pass at the dialogue and the scripting, and then I'd come in, make a few changes here and there. But yeah, it's been a great way to work. Sounds like you and your daughter, it's working for y'all too, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and now she's kind of, well, she got my granddaughter. She's kind of moved on to the point where she's just editing now, and
Okay.
I'll bounce ideas off of her. I took over writing completely with my prequel, Ballad of the Damned, and it scared me to death, man. I sat down with her. I said, "You ready to write this one?" And she said, "Well, I got this, and this going on. How about you take it?" I said, "What do you mean? How about it? I take it?" She said, "You're ready. You got this." I'm like, "Are you kidding me, Ryan?" And so anyway, she threw me in the deep end like I did her when I taught her how to swim. But so be careful what you do to your kids. That's all I'm
Yeah,
going to say because it will come back to haunt you. You know. So
I
yeah,
can
she
only
threw me in
imagine.
the deep end, and but hey, I had great reviews on that book. So thankful that everybody was stayed on board and seen it through. And and I didn't do the art on that one. Matt Martin come in with me, and Matt knocked it out of the freaking park, dude.
Yeah,
He
he's
just
great.
he is absolutely incredible. And he's got a short story in my next book. He couldn't
Okay.
get enough of it. He had he hit me up. He's like, man, I got. He said, what do you think about a short story? He said, I got this thing. I'm wanting to kind of finish it up. I'm like, well, hell yeah, That's like, sure, man. So he's gonna have a 8-page story at the end of my 28 plus thing at
Oh
this
wow.
kind of staying in that world and kind of puts a nice bow on Ballad of the Damned,
That's a
So and he
beefy
did, huh?
beefy issue. That's a beefy issue.
Yeah, we're looking at possibly 40 plus pages between mine and then his short story. So yeah, it's gonna be
That's
a good
awesome.
one.
Yeah. So at what point did you start to feel comfortable in that process when you're doing it, writing it alone, or did you ever, or?
I still hadn't. I'm not gonna lie to you, Jay. I near about shit my pants just thinking about it. I'm telling you, man. But luckily, it worked out. I can bounce ideas off her still, and she reads over. She reads it all now that she's just straight up editing, and she'll be like, "Okay, I see what you did here, but what if we did it like this? Went from this angle." I mean, she hadn't completely took the reins off of me, but more or less.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well, that's
I
cool
mean
though.
it's been interesting for sure. But
It's
oh
always
god,
good to
no,
stretch yourself.
yeah, I don't know if I'll ever be comfortable with it. I mean, I'm an artist at heart. That was always my passion. And I was like, I was thinking, oh yeah, do a Kickstarter, come out with a book. Sure, I'll just get a writer and I'll get a colorist because I'd never colored. I'll do my own letters. No, I'll get a letterer. And then I got in and started saying, well, okay, how hard it was to get all this, and it just, then you got to do your marketing. You got to, and I'd never done digital art. I studied up on these programs, so it was a big learning curve all the way around. But
Yeah.
like you said earlier, there's so much out there, you know, that you can dive into and learn how to do this stuff. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. Period.
And it gets faster and easier as you go.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool,
Exactly.
man. It's always good to stretch yourself and just keep
Oh
building
God,
up new skills. Yeah. Keeps us young.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. I mean, I know I don't look it, but inside here, I'm still a teenager, man. I
Oh
wish I
yeah, me
could
too.
go back to my 17-year-old self and say, "Hey, kid, when you are in your 40s, you're gonna have your own book." And I know my little cocky self be like, "Man, get away from me, old man. You don't know what you're talking about."
You say start now, so we're ahead of the game back
Yeah,
in the past.
exactly. And I can't remember what movie it is, but invest in Yahoo and Google and all these things, and you won't have to worry about
Bitcoin.
money when you get, yeah.
Yeah.
Apple and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I have the same thoughts. Yeah.
But yeah, let me ask you this. I ask everybody this one. Okay, Incision. Say this Kickstarter just, I mean, it's a record breaking Kickstarter. You start getting calls from movie producers. You start getting calls from studios. You start getting calls from animators. You get calls from Netflix, Amazon. Which direction do you go?
You know, pacing out the story, I kind of viewed it as an action movie in my mind, as
Gotcha.
far as the entire series, run, whatever you want to call it. And then
Right.
I kind of figured out logical breakpoints to place my issues within that. So
Gotcha.
you know, Pie in the Sky, I would kind of see it as a live action, action superhero kind of movie, I think.
Okay. Like a single one off, or we talking trilogy like everybody likes to do nowadays?
I mean, this story arc, probably a one-off, 2.5
Gotcha.
hour movie. That's kind of how
Right.
I see it in my head. And
Okay.
then with the possibility of, potentially more stories in the future, I'm not locking myself into having to do more stories, and I'm not locking myself out of doing it. That's
You leaving the door
uh,
open.
I'm leaving the door cracked a little bit. Yeah.
I gotcha. Well, I tell you what, let me take a break real quick and say by the time this thing airs, the in the description, right down here below us, you will be able to look down and I will have the link in there where you can go in there and take one little tap and go straight to Jay's Kickstarter. So what you need to do, you need to go in and
and
sign up right now. We need everybody on board. You are going to love this story. You heard what the man said. It's inspired by early 90s comics, X-Men, Wolverine. I know that's right up everybody's alley. So you need to jump on board. Jay's an incredible creator. Hey, jump on there. I'm sure he. Are you gonna have abducted available in this too, or
yeah, so we've got a lot of rewards. Like I mentioned, we've got the standard cover. We've got two variant covers. I'm also
right?
doing a process zine, so that's going to be its own little booklet, and it'll have
Oh wow,
make thumbnail sketches, character sketches, making of. I made some custom
cool.
3D models and action figures for photo reference. I just poured all that in there. So a lot of
Right.
cool stuff in that, and then also all the past books that I've been involved in. So Abducted, The Body, Superposition,
Wow.
all that kind of stuff's in there. And then we have a reward that's teamed up with Lesser Known Comics, and it's called the
Right.
LKC Action Pack. So it's a selection of its Incision, and then a selection of action titles from the LKC catalog.
That's
So
really cool.
there's just a lot of cool rewards in there. I hope everybody has a chance to check it out. I'm so appreciative of everybody that takes an interest, takes the time to even look at it and back. So yeah, I just hope everybody will take a look. We're excited to get it out. So I appreciate you having me on, Gary. It's been so much fun today.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, Jay, and also we will have all of Jay's links down here. So be sure and jump on those as well. Give him a follow where you can stay up to date in everything Jay has going on because he posts pretty regular, guys. If you want to get the behind the scenes kind of thing, just jump on all of his socials and you can see what he's doing and stay up to date with what he's got cooking. And also be sure and give LKC a follow as well because we're all from time to time in and out of there with some of our stuff posted as well. And one more thing, guys. I said it at the beginning of the show. I'm gonna say it again. Be sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We love bringing these guys to you, and we want to keep continuing to do that and just spreading the word about all these awesome projects. And we can't do that without you. So be sure and subscribe, share the videos, help us get the word out there on all these awesome creators. And hey, leave a like, leave a comment. Those help. You have no idea how much those help with the algorithm helping us get seen. And hey, we can't do that what we do without you guys. So as always, we appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you so much to all the people that have followed and the had a little spurt of growth here in the last week or so. All you new guys, thank you so much. I hope you stay with us as we continue to bring you these guys to talk about what they've got cooking. So, Jay, anything else you want to plug before we jump off of here?
That's it. Just the Kickstarter. If you're watching this before the campaign launches, we got the pre-launch page up. Otherwise, if you're watching this during the campaign, take a look, jump on board. We'd love to, have you as a backer.
There you go. The man said it. Jump on board. In the description. That's how you one little click. I made it easy for you guys right down here. Jay, awesome to have you on, brother. I hope this is the first of many times we'll be able to sit down and talk. David, you have a blessed day. All you guys out there, have a blessed day. You guys take it easy, and that's the show. Thank you so much for spending time with us.